visualize your favorite food. Is it a thick burger sandwiched between pillowy buns? Or is it crispy fried chicken dripping with spicy buffalo sauce? Or get this, Saturday morning, bacon sizzling on the griddle. Any of those? Yeah? Alright, well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but even life's simplest pleasures can have a really dark background to it, and that includes some of America's favorite foods, such as burgers and fried chicken and even bacon. And so today I wanted to talk about the economic, environmental, and health effects of eating meat. And I just want to give a little background to my project. So in November of 2014, BPS adopted Meatless Mondays. And as many of you don't know, this actually happened. Yeah, on Mondays, there is always a meatless option available to students, whether it be the black bean stew or the salad with chickpeas in it. It doesn't sound very appetizing, but my project is to revamp this whole campaign and to bring new hype into having Meatless Mondays. And so let's get right into it. Let's talk money. So let's compare the cost of eating a pound of beef, or buying a pound of beef and a can of black beans. So basically, one serving for both of them is half a cup. And if we go starting from the top, a pound of black beans is $1.50. So this is, I got this from Save A Lot, which is a very budget-friendly store in the middle of the hood of Roxbury. And this is dried black beans, so that's $1.50. And for a pound of ground beef, that is $2.50. So we're keeping in mind budget here. We're trying to go as cheap as possible. But even so, with that, 1 pound of beef, when you cook beef, it shrinks down, so you're getting less than what you paid for, basically. When you buy a pound of dried black beans, you're rehydrating it and you're putting more into it. So 1 pound would have, I don't know, let's say 4 cups, multiply that by 3, you've got 12 cups of black beans right there. And through the nutritional account, we see beans are a lot lower in calories if you're going for that route. They have less than a gram of fat per each half cup, so 0 cholesterol, and we'll get back to that later, the health effects. And it has 7.5 grams of protein versus meat, or this pound of black ground beef, which has 24 grams of protein. And you might be thinking like, oh, where am I going to get my protein from if I start eating meatless and I stop eating meat every single meal? Well, the daily recommended value for protein is actually 50 grams of protein. So in a half cup serving of ground beef, you're essentially getting almost half of your daily value of protein. And if you do this 3 meals a day, you're getting essentially 50% more protein than you need every single day. And so we know that nobody goes by the serving size. We always want to eat more, more, more. And there are a lot of health negative effects on your health for eating too much protein, such as weight gain and lower life expectancy, and we can get into all of that later. But now that we know that eating plant-based protein and food is more cheap than meat and animal-based foods, then now we can go into why. Why is it more expensive? And so let's take a quarter pound of beef now. So your typical burger, quarter pounder, go to McDonald's. So that would mean that quarter pound burger, it took 6.7 pounds of grain to feed that animal. Grain that could have been feeding other people around the world. And so actually earlier this year, the United Nations concluded that they're going to try to resolve world hunger by 2020. And that's been everybody's dream, to solve world hunger. That's a goal that humanity has set for itself. And it is feasible. It is feasible right now. And that goal, in 4 years, we could solve world hunger. A reason why it took so long is because a lot of the food that we have been growing to feed these livestock, chickens, pigs, cows, could have been used for human consumption. And so, back to that quarter pound of beef, it takes 52.8 gallons of water. So that's for for the cow to be drinking the water, for irrigating the crops, and we can see now water is a very valuable resource, and we can see that in California, which is experiencing a major drought, the worst of its kind in history. So this pound of beef is not only affecting people who could have had food, but it's also affecting the environment, and as well as the water and the food. Land, 74.5 square feet so that's for the animals to graze, to keep the livestock in, to grow the crops for that. And that land is, we need more land, and there's trees in the way. So deforestation is a result of growing livestock, for growing meat for food. So we could essentially reduce deforestation by reducing our intake of meat. And fossil fuel energy. So it takes so much energy for raising the animals, for refrigerating their meat, for keeping them alive, for growing the food, for transporting water, for transporting the actual meat, and all of this. And another source of this fossil fuel energy, not just for consuming and all of that, but also just keeping the cows alive, produces so much methane, and that's cow fart. That's a cow farting method. Just by keeping these animals alive, we are producing more methane and fossil fuels into the air, which is accelerating climate change at such a fast pace. And so now that we know why meat is so expensive, all the resources that go into it, and all these environmental effects that didn't have to happen because of our intake of meat. Now let's move on to how it personally affects you and your health. So this graph of here is the 10 major leading causes of death in the United States. And so we see at the top heart disease. Heart disease is completely diet-based and preventable. There are some genetic factors that come in, but it is mostly diet-based. And cancer is falling right behind. And you might have thought, hey, we can't prevent cancer. That's not in our control. But earlier in this year, the World Health Organization released a press release that actually said that red processed meat causes cancer, and that red meat may cause cancer. But why would you want to consume something that probably causes you cancer? It has already been shown that sausage, bacon, hamburgers, those cause colorectal cancer. And up here as well, diabetes and stroke, those are also based off of dietary factors involving meat and processed meats and that. So before I get to my dessert, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Before I get to that, I just want to open it up to any questions. Yeah?
Do you think it's feasible that if, say, like everyone in the country went vegetarian, we'd be able to sustain them?
Actually, the United Nations did say that. Like right now, if everybody was vegetarian, there'd be enough food for everybody to have access to healthy food, and that nobody would have to die of starvation ever again if everybody was vegetarian. Anything else? Yeah?
I know a lot of people say that it's hard to eat meatless because it takes a long time to prepare vegetables, and sometimes buying, I don't know, maybe organic, but I don't know if it's part of farming because it's more expensive. What would you say to people who think that it takes more work to eat meatless?
It actually doesn't take more work. So if you think about like steak, you gotta make sure the middle is cooked, you gotta make sure that, like, there are so many other things that come into it. Vegetables, you can literally chop up and throw in an oven if you wanted roasted vegetables. That's a lot of hands-off cooking for you. So, and another thing is with cost, people think it's more expensive to eat meatless, but that's if you're going into like the fake meats, the fake cheeses. But really, if you're going for a whole plant-based food, then it is a whole lot cheaper. So if you're going for vegetables, fruits, grains, legumes like beans, it's definitely so much cheaper and very budget friendly. And I can say from personal experience, I grew up in Roxbury, in the middle of the hood, not too much income coming into my family. I have been vegan for 3 years now, and it's very, very cost efficient. And so, since we're done with questions, I just want to let you know that every little bit counts. Meatless Mondays, that's just one day of the week where you're cutting meat out of your diet. And so Live Action Vegan, this is just like a snapshot of the email I got from them. So one summer I pledged to leave animal products out of my diet for 5 to 6 days, and they said by this, in 1 year, if I stuck to this, I would have saved 141 animals. I didn't go into the ethical part in my presentation because I think that's up to our own judgment to decide what is ethical and what's not ethical. But if you like animals, you just saved 141 of them. And so you would also have saved 38,000 square feet of rainforest. And this goes back to my point about land and how much land we use for growing and maintaining those livestock. And 964,000 gallons of water. That's a lot of water. California doesn't have a lot of water, and so by going vegan, you're actually conserving the water. And shutting off the tap, like in your house, once you're brushing your teeth, like that does save a little bit water, but going vegan or even vegetarian, meatless for 1 day, this is 5 to 6 days in 1 year, but even if you divide that by what, 6? That's still quite a lot of animals, rainforest, and water. So I just want you guys to leave with the message that every little bit counts, and every hamburger that you swap out of your burger for like a black bean burger is beneficial to you and the environment and the animals. So thank you.